So to me, it makes perfect sense that to explore reality, we have to become closed-minded to a point. Being completely open-minded is basically being nihilistic, thinking that there's, anything could be true. No, certain things are more likely to be true than others, so we might as well assume that they're true in order to navigate the world with some degree of effectiveness. And being closed-minded and thinking that one reality is true, it allows you to map or gather evidence for that one reality far more effectively. For instance, if we want to explore an idea like Darwinism, we almost have to assume that Darwinism is true, and then we can perceive the world through the frame of mind of it being true. And then we can find all the evidence for it being true and, gather the case for Darwinism. And then if we want to gather the case against Darwinism, we can look through the world through all the other opposing perspectives. And I think this is the only thing that allows you to make a semi-objective decision. I wouldn't say it's entirely objective, because we can never really explore all possible viewpoints, only the viewpoints that people are currently exploring. But I mean, yeah, it's it's the closest you're going to get. It's like, if you want to gather evidence for a hypothesis, then you have to assume that that hypothesis is true, and then, only then can you really explore, the explaining power of that hypothesis. If that hypothesis explains so much about reality, like evolution, if it categorizes reality in such an amazing way that it offers so much understanding, then there's some value to it. But you only find that out if you perceive the different perspectives and weigh them objectively. You have to flip-flop. To equally gather evidence for all perspectives, you have to flip-flop. So I could say that a conclusion, or believing that you're right in some area, it's almost like a tool for gathering more evidence for you being right. Like, if you believe you're right, then you're going to automatically validate that belief system. So it's almost like a conclusion is a tool for finding evidence, and you can come to different conclusions and flip-flop for gathering evidence on different conclusions. But if you fail to stand back once in a while, if you fail to stand back and take a wide, open-minded view of reality, almost nihilistic view of reality, you are doomed to brainwash yourself completely, of whatever perspective you hold. Whatever, it doesn't matter what perspective you hold, you're doomed to brainwash yourself. I mean, if we hold a perspective, doesn't matter what it is, we will eventually validate it. So, I mean, both states of mind, open-mindedness and elitism, they're both important for intellectual growth. Okay, back to being cool. I don't think being unique automatically qualifies you for being cool either. Being yourself, or being an individual, qualifies you for being cool. If a bunch of people are all engaging in the same activity, like they're all cheering for a local sports team, or they're all climbing a tree, or they all are agnostics or atheists, and you want to join them, being yourself and being an individual would mean doing exactly what the rest of the group did. If you are overly concerned with being unique, and this causes you to not want to join the group, then you are being manipulated by the prominent idea that you should be yourself, and that means being different. You are being manipulated by a societal image. The societal image is telling you that it's important to be unique. Be yourself. If that includes being a part of the group, then be part of the group. When people strive to be unique and different just because it's a societal image, they are not being individuals. They are products of a society's view of cool. That's not cool. So we have these individuals, these people who are themselves, these truly cool people. They rebel against the status quo, become their own people, but then they turn around and look down upon anyone else who decides not to share their perspectives of reality. I mean, it's so interesting and so predictable, really. It's this reverse elitism just happens so predictably. You have these elitists who look down on you because you don't want to exist within their narrow perspective of what is socially normal. But then you turn around and look down on everyone else who decides to exist within that social norm. I think what truly makes a person cool is that they come to the so simple conclusion that good and evil don't exist. Things are never just good and bad. They are only ever just good and bad for reasons. And I think when cool people are able to see that good and evil don't exist, and they don't see the world in black and white anymore. They see the options. They see the options of how they could live. They see the opportunities for expression. They're not just in this robotic existence. They're not just a product of society's image. So this video is meant to encourage people to be cool. And cool certainly does not mean acting like cool people, whatever that means for you. Either having or not having certain preferences, like to be cool or not to be cool. It has nothing to do with, swearing or acting calm or reserved all the time, or drinking beer or not smoking pot or anything, or being part of a group or not being a part of a group. Nothing to do with it. And I don't think being cool just means being unique either. Like sometimes you want to follow the crowd, and if you want to follow the crowd, follow the crowd. And I'm not saying you have to be totally open-minded, but you have to be tolerant to some degree towards other people's preferences. And I think the more open-minded you are, the more you are able to explore your potential and your personality. I mean, if you're so close-minded about everything but your little concept of acceptable behavior, then you never grow into an entire person. You're just one-dimensional. You never explore the potential for what your personality could evolve into. You are simply forced into this robotic behavior by oppressive social taboos, and that is not cool. So don't limit yourself to what is cool. Explore, adapt, try something new, experiment, flip-flop, do whatever the fuck you want. And if society thinks less of you for being yourself, then, well, that's society's illness, and I don't want that shit to touch me. Just make your own choices. Like, being yourself may include following a social trend. Just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean you should do it, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. And I don't mean that doing what you want means ignoring the consequences of your actions. It just means making your own decisions and doing what you want to do, and doing it how you want to do it. Do what you want, do it how you want to do it. Screw those people who are wanting you to do it differently. Live your life to the fullest, live your life for you, and don't limit yourself to fitting into some image. That is what it means to be cool.